It ran for 11 seasons and gave America exactly what it thought it wanted: a simpler time, a safer neighborhood, a jukebox that always worked. The kid who played the good boy became one of Hollywood's greatest directors. The man who played the coolest character alive was hiding a secret that quietly broke his heart every single day. And the girl everyone adored barely made it to 50. 10 seasons of leather jackets and milkshakes, none of it as easy as it looked. Number 1. Ron Howard as Richie Cunningham. Ron Howard was born on March 1, 1954, in Oklahoma, and was 19 years old when he became Richie Cunningham, the good son, the straight arrow, the boy next door who always tried to do the right thing and usually managed it. Richie was the moral center of the show. Every episode eventually came back to him. That is a lot to ask of a teenager. Howard made it look effortless. What audiences watching him play Richie didn't fully register was that they were watching a professional who had already been working for 15 years. He started on The Andy Griffith Show at 6 years old. By the time Happy Days premiered, he had more set experience than most adult actors on the call sheet. He knew exactly what he was doing. He left the show in 1980 after 6 seasons to direct. Not to try directing, to direct. The confidence required to walk away from one of the most successful shows on television at 26 years old, before a single major film had proved him right, is almost impossible to overstate. He was right. Splash, Cocoon, Parenthood, Apollo 13, A Beautiful Mind, The Da Vinci Code. He built one of the most commercially successful directing careers in Hollywood history and never once looked back at that red and white sweater. Today in 2026, Ron Howard is 72 years old with an estimated net worth of $200 million. Richie Cunningham always knew what the right thing to do was. Turns out Ron Howard did too. Number 2. Henry Winkler as Arthur Fonzie Fonzarelli. Henry Winkler was born on October 30th, 1945, in New York, and was 28 years old when he put on the leather jacket, leaned against the jukebox, and became Fonzie, the coolest human being American television had ever produced. Children wanted to be him. Adults wanted to be near him. The Smithsonian Institution put his actual jacket in the National Museum of American History. That happened. What nobody watching knew was that underneath all of it, Winkler was struggling with something he couldn't name or fix. He had severe dyslexia, undiagnosed until he was 31 years old. He had spent his entire education, his entire early career, hiding the fact that he could barely read a script. He memorized everything. He covered constantly. He smiled and delivered the coolest lines in television while privately believing he was the least intelligent person in any room he entered. The diagnosis changed everything. Not overnight, but eventually. He co-wrote the Hank Zipser children's book series specifically about a boy with learning differences, giving children the language he never had. He won the Emmy Award in 2018 for Barry, 43 years after Fonzie made him a household name, and gave one of the most genuinely moved acceptance speeches in Emmy history. Today in 2026, Henry Winkler is 80 years old with an estimated net worth of $40 million. Fonzie made Thumbs Up iconic. Winkler spent 50 years using that platform to tell kids they were not broken. That is the better legacy. Number 3. Tom Bosley as Howard Cunningham. Tom Bosley was born on October 1st, 1927, in Chicago, and was 46 years old when he became Howard Cunningham, the hardware store owner, the patient father, the man who sat at the head of the table and held everything together with warmth and quiet decency. Howard was the kind of TV dad that made viewers call their own fathers on the way to the next episode. Bosley was already a Tony Award winner before Happy Days. He had real theater credentials, genuine dramatic range, and chose to spend 11 seasons playing a good man in a comfortable house because he understood exactly what that kind of stability meant to audiences watching from the outside. That is not a lesser choice. That is a considered one. After Happy Days, he found an entirely new generation as Father Dowling in the mystery series that ran from 1987 to 1991. He worked consistently, quietly, and without the restlessness that pushes some actors toward bad decisions. He was diagnosed with heart disease and later prostate cancer, and kept both largely private. Tom Bosley died on October 19, 2010, at 83 years old with an estimated net worth of $5 million. Howard Cunningham made the ordinary look honorable. Bosley spent his whole career proving that was harder than it looked. Number 4. Erin Moran as Joni Cunningham. Erin Moran was born on October 18, 1960, in California, and was 13 years old when she became Joni Cunningham, Richie's little sister, sharp-tongued and warm underneath it. The girl who grew up on screen across 11 seasons and made the whole thing feel like a real family. What came after was the hardest story in the entire cast. When the show ended, the work dried up almost completely. She married Rocky Ferguson in 1993 and moved into his mother's trailer in Indiana. The money was gone. The offers weren't coming. She battled addiction for years, alcohol primarily, and the tabloids found her repeatedly and made it as public and as cruel as possible. In 2012, she and Scott Baio became entangled in a public dispute after she alleged mistreatment during their relationship years earlier. The story spread everywhere and brought a new wave of attention, none of it the kind she deserved. Her final years were marked by serious illness. She was diagnosed with stage 4 throat cancer and had been living with the disease before anyone outside her immediate circle knew. Erin Moran died on April 22, 2017, at 56 years old, with an estimated net worth of $50,000. Joni Cunningham grew up in the warmth of that Milwaukee house every week. Erin Moran deserved that same warmth in return. She didn't get nearly enough of it. Number 5. Marion Ross as Marion Cunningham. Marion Ross was born on October 25, 1928 in Minnesota, and was 45 years old when she became Marion Cunningham. The mother at the center of the house, apron on, always present, the woman who made every other character feel like they had somewhere to come home to. She had spent 2 decades working steadily before Happy Days. Small roles, supporting parts, the invisible labor that builds a career without building a profile. By the time she sat down at that kitchen table, she was ready. The warmth she brought to Marion wasn't manufactured. It was the product of years of watching, learning, and waiting for a role that needed exactly what she had. What most people don't know is that Ross has spoken candidly about her marriage to Freeman Meskimen, ending in 1968. The loneliness of raising 2 children while maintaining a career in an industry that rarely made either easy. She found a companion later in life in producer Paul Michael and built a quieter, steadier happiness than Hollywood usually allows. She returned for reunion specials, accepted her place in television history with genuine grace, and at 97 years old in 2026, remains one of the last surviving principal cast members. Her estimated net worth is $10 million. Marion Cunningham made a house feel like a home every single week. Ross has spent 50 years doing exactly the same thing for everyone lucky enough to know her. Number 6. Don Most as Ralph Mouth. Don Most was born on August 8, 1953, in New York, and was 20 years old when he became Ralph Mouth. Richie's best friend, the joke teller, the one who announced he still had it with the confidence of someone who absolutely did not still have it. Ralph was comic relief with a heart, and Most played him with a generosity that made even the broadest gags land with warmth. After Happy Days, he pursued a directing and producing career that kept him working steadily behind the camera long after the acting offers thinned. He was honest in interviews about the typecasting trap, that Ralph Mouth followed him into every audition room for years and rarely left before the casting director had already made up their mind. What defines Most's post-show story is the absence of bitterness. He speaks about happy days with genuine affection, attends reunions without resentment, and built a life around music and directing that had nothing to prove to anyone. He married Morgan Hart in 1982 and has stayed married, something that qualifies as its own kind of achievement in the industry. Today in 2026, Don Most is 72 years old with an estimated net worth of $4 million. Ralph Mouth always insisted he still had it. Most quietly proved that was true, just in rooms nobody was filming. Number 7. Anson Williams as Patsy Weber. Anson Williams was born on September 25, 1949 in California, and was 24 years old when he became Patsy Weber. Sweet, slightly lost, always on the edge of the joke, but never quite the target of it. Patsy was the friend everyone has had, the one who means well completely and lands correctly about half the time. Williams was a genuinely capable singer, something the show used well and the industry never quite knew what to do with after. He pursued a music career that produced modest results, then made a turn that nobody predicted. He moved into directing and producing medical content, co-developed a water additive product that received serious medical attention for helping deliver medication more effectively, and became an unlikely health technology entrepreneur. He has spoken about the death of his cousin, Barry Greenberg, to a drug overdose, an event that shaped his interest in health advocacy quietly and permanently. The work he has done in that space has probably helped more people than Patsy Weber ever did, and Patsy helped quite a few. Today in 2026, Anson Williams is 76 years old with an estimated net worth of $8 million. Patsy Weber spent 11 seasons figuring out where he fit. Williams spent the years after proving the answer was somewhere nobody expected. Number 8. Scott Baio as Chachi Arcola. Scott Baio was born on September 22, 1960 in New York, and was 16 years old when he arrived as Chachi Arcola, Fonzie's younger cousin, leather jacket slightly too big, attitude slightly too loud, charm just enough to get away with both. He was the show's attempt to bottle lightning twice. For a while it worked. Joni Loves Chachi ran for 2 seasons. The name followed him everywhere. What came after was defined more by controversy than craft. He became a recurring tabloid presence through the 1980s and 1990s. Relationships with Pamela Anderson, Nicole Eggert, and others that generated headlines he couldn't control and didn't always handle well. He married Renee Sloan in 2007, and their daughter Bailey was diagnosed with a rare metabolic disorder, a moment he has spoken about as the thing that genuinely reordered his priorities. His public political activism in the 2000s divided opinions sharply and damaged relationships with former castmates permanently. Aaron Moran's allegations against him cast a shadow that never fully lifted. The contradiction between the charming kid on screen and the complicated adult off it is real and uncomfortable and cannot be edited out of the story. Today in 2026, Scott Baio is 65 years old with an estimated net worth of $4 million. Chachi was supposed to be the next Fonzie. The leather jacket never quite fit the same way twice. Number 9. Linda Goodfriend as Lori Beth Allen. Linda Goodfriend was born on October 31, 1953, in Florida, and was 22 years old when she joined Happy Days as Lori Beth Allen, Richie's girlfriend, then his wife, the woman who anchored his story in its final seasons and gave the show's emotional center somewhere to land. She joined a cast that was already a tight, established family, one of the hardest positions any actor can walk into. She found her footing quietly and held it with consistency across 4 seasons. When Ron Howard left in 1980, Lori Beth left with him narratively, and Goodfriend's time on the show ended as cleanly as it had begun. What followed was a deliberate step back from the industry. She moved into education, worked with children, and built a life that had almost nothing to do with Hollywood and everything to do with what she actually valued. She has given very few interviews. She has attended very few reunions. That level of self-possession, choosing a real life over the maintenance of a public one, is rarer in this industry than any award. Today in 2026, Linda Goodfriend is 72 years old with an estimated net worth of $2 million. Lori Beth chose Richie Cunningham. Goodfriend chose something quieter and harder to find. Both were the right call. Number 10. What Happy Days was actually asking. Happy Days ran from 1974 to 1984. 11 seasons, 255 episodes. It was the #1 show in America for years. Those are the numbers. They are not the point. The point is what the show was doing underneath the nostalgia. It premiered in 1974, the year Nixon resigned, the year Vietnam was ending, the year America was exhausted and ashamed and desperately needed to believe it had once been something simpler and better. Happy Days gave audiences the 1950s they wished had existed, not the one that actually did, with the fear and the conformity and the things politely not discussed at the dinner table. The better one. The one where the worst problem was whether Richie would ask the right girl to the dance. That is a powerful thing to offer a hurting country. It is also a slightly dishonest one. The cast paid the price for the gap between the fantasy and the reality in different ways. Howard escaped it by building something real. Winkler carried a secret through every thumbs up. Moran fell through it entirely while the cameras had long since moved on. Happy Days asked one question every week, dressed in poodle skirts and leather jackets. Can the past save you? The answer the show gave was always yes. The lives behind it told a more complicated story. The past can comfort you. It cannot carry you. Only the people willing to build something new ever really made it out. That's Happy Days, then and now. A show that gave America the past it needed and asked nothing in return except that you keep watching. Drop a comment. Which story surprised you most? And here's the real question. Do you think nostalgia ever actually helps? Or does it just make the present harder to face? Because the more you know about the people who sold us that dream, the more complicated the answer gets. If this one took you straight back to Arnold's Drive-In, you already know what to do.